Welcome everybody to my channel. Let's all dive into the most interesting animals that are related to Halloween, such as bats. I chose my favorite bat, which is the vampire bat. This species is actually known as the common vampire bat, and the reason for that is because these guys are pretty much found in Mexico, Central America, and South America. That is where you would typically find these, bats. These bats are very different from other bats, as these guys suck blood. That is why they're called vampire bats. Okay? Now, they are very sociable creatures, and they can live in an colony up to 100 animals, and sometimes even up to 1,000. So they can go to 1,000 or 100 or even more. But 100 bat economy can drink the blood of 25 cows. So that gives you an indicator of why they're called vampire bats in the first place, because they drink blood. But what is interesting is when it comes to the young vampire bats, they don't feed on blood, but on milk. They do cling, especially on their mum, and they will do nothing else other than drink the mother's milk until for about 3 months. So it's quite impressive. These guys only weigh about 2 ounces, so they're not the most heaviest thing in the world. But not only that, they are least concern, which is not bad. In the wild, they can live up to 9 years old. Now, their wingspan is quite impressive. It's about 7 inches. But their body height is about 3.7 inches. Which is, it's not the greatest, but it is what it is. But yeah, they survive mainly on blood. So if you guys ever do get to see these wonderful bats, then you guys are lucky, because they do have a lot of interesting features that are different from most other bats. And that's because these guys drink blood. That is their main food supply. That's what makes them survive. Whereas other bats, they would eat, insects, stuff like that. So that's what they would mainly eat. But no, these guys chose blood over moths and so on and so forth. Now that is a scary thought, to know that these guys hide in the caves waiting for the next victim to, be targeted by these guys. So that's animal fact number 1. And somewhere in the end, I will be talking about black cats, because I think you guys would love to understand black cats and, why people think that they are bad luck when actually they're not. Now, a lot of you guys may be wondering why crows are even part of the, Halloween theme. Why are these guys so mysterious and so beautiful at the same time? And why are we so scared of them, during Halloween? Why are these guys? Well, it's very interesting that you asked that, because in folklore and mythology, in many cultures, crows have long been considered a messenger between the living and the dead. Now picture that. It is scary to think that these guys have the power and the capability to do that. That is mind-blowing in every way possible. So folklore and mythology have all considered crows to be a messenger for the living and the dead. So, that is why they are also very much considered to be part of, Halloween. It is amazing. Now, as much as we love a good, scary, creature that is the werewolf, we can all understand why this would come into the Halloween feature, why we love werewolves so much. And that is simply because we know that this is a mythical being that can shapeshift from human to wolf, often associated with full moon and cursed individuals. Frightening, scary, and just very much wow. We all love to make up mythical creatures, but we all know that we love scaring people on campfires. I know when I was younger, I loved to, tell these sort of scary stories, especially when it comes to the werewolf. There are so many different versions of, the werewolf story. We all heard different versions. But again, such a classic to bring into Halloween. I love it. I know you guys do too. Owls. Now, you're probably wondering and looking at this and going, oh my god, this is creepy as hell. Why are we looking at this sort of stuff? Why do we even need to be seeing an owl that's looking into your soul? Well, owls, considered a creature of the night, mystery. Owls have historical ties to death and witchcraft, making them a natural fit for Halloween, which is true. It is true. So, you know, when you think about witchcraft and you think about, you know, yeah, these guys, they do give me the chills. We love them though. They are absolutely fascinating. There's a lot to be said about, you know, these guys in a nutshell. But honestly, owls do fit so perfectly for Halloween, for witchcraft, for everything that is just scary about these guys. Now, stay tuned because, like I say, we do have something very interesting about, you know, cats, especially black cats, which does come into, you know, Halloween. The island of Greek is where the Minotaur was. Half man, half bull hybrid that fed on flesh, which is insane. You know, I love the fact that they kept this creature on the island in Greek, you know, where he would, you know, like I say, eat human flesh, which is disturbing. But this guy really does, you know, make up for Halloween in terms of just the pure fear that he driven to people, and the fact that this is a Greek mythology creature still makes up for Halloween, you know, side of stuff. So when people are on campfires, they would always talk about the Minotaur being, you know, this hybrid, half man, half bull. And that is where, you know, Halloween fits him in perfectly with, you know, scaring people, different stories, but all in all, this is a Greek mythology side of, you know, Halloween. Now, when it comes to black cats, people think that these guys bring bad luck. But, you know, here's an interesting fact and information about the black cats for why they are also considered very unique for Halloween. In the Middle Ages, some Europeans thought witches had black cats as helpers or even turned into cats themselves. That's how the myth of black cats bringing bad luck began. You know, but it's not true. No matter what color they are, cats can't cause bad luck. In fact, black cats might be lucky. Scientists think some gene that makes the fur black could help them fight off infections. How cool is that? So we all actually, you know, believe that, you know, cats bring us, you know, bad luck. But the fact that they are able to, you know, fight infection because of a gene in their fur that makes them black, that is quite unique. What did you guys think about, you know, this Halloween video in terms of all of the information that was given? And I hope you guys have a very scary Halloween. And I will see you guys on my live stream. And make sure you like, make sure you subscribe and all that sort of good stuff. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Oh, and one more thing, guys. If you don't subscribe or like, then the Minotaur will get you.